Hey, listen. So yeah, with this whole thing in Indianapolis with the public schools, the fix has been in the entire time, and that is not the only fix that has been in the Circle City this week. So, redistricting has dominated the news in the state, and once again, the fix has been in. So, the Republicans in the supermajority this week unveiled a new congressional map at the prompting of President Trump. He's been pushing this for months. The map would divide Marion County, that's Indianapolis, into 4 districts. This is even worse than any of the mock maps we've seen in the months leading up to this. Now, House Speaker Todd Huston claims that California pushed him over the edge, saying that it had an impact on him seeing what California did and overwhelmingly voting for new maps there. That's his quote. Voting is the word I will emphasize in that quote. Hoosiers do not get that option. So Indy residents fear redistricting would mean the erasure of their voices. In the Indy Star, I'm going to quote from there. Many residents and Democrats say the proposed maps seem blatantly designed to strip power from communities of color that line the major east-west thoroughfare. The new map would fracture the voting bloc that since 2008 has backed Democratic U.S. Representative Andre Carson, drowning out diverse Marion County neighborhoods and with heavily white suburbs and far-flung rural areas extending to Indiana's borders with 3 other states. And I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to bring up this lovely map, which is not the best from here, but you can see that's Marion County divided into parts of 4 districts. The 9th district would stretch from somewhere around the Speedway down to the Louisville suburbs. It is comically bad. Here's the whole map. All right, we'll zoom back in on Marion County there. But the way the lines are drawn are with near surgical precision to divide black voters and disperse them amongst these random districts. Textbook example of a gerrymandering practice known as cracking. Now, listen. Indianapolis is not the only target of this. Voters in Northwest Indiana, up in the 1st Congressional District, here's another graphic for you, would be diluted into a vast rural district that stretches from the Chicagoland area there, which has always been in a congressional district by itself. The new map would group Lake County voters with those in Pulaski, Stark, Marshall, Fulton, and all the way down in Wabash County, which is in like the north central part of the state. Elkhart has also been divided amongst 2 districts. Muncie has been divided amongst 2 districts, and the Lafayette area has also been divided amongst 2 districts. Now, listen, we talked about, and I'm going to bring our Marion County map back up here, and we talked about how it was precision engineered to divide the black vote. But the author of these maps says that these were drawn for political performance, not for racial reasons. Now, this people treated it like a gotcha, right? Oh, he said this is for political reasons. See? Well, he's engaging in deception here. He's being slick. In 2018, the Supreme Court ruled that partisan gerrymandering is perfectly fine, but racial gerrymandering violates Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, at least for now. And I've linked in the show notes a story in SCOTUS blog, which highlights that the court is currently weighing in on a case from Louisiana, which very well could gut the Voting Rights Act and allow southern states to draw out black voters and pick up some 18 to 20 new seats in Congress after they do so. Now, despite all this, like I said, the fix was in. The House GOP defeated Democratic amendment after Democratic amendment. The Democrats offered reimbursements for county clerks to cover costs like updating election processes and materials. They offered other amendments that would track spending to see how much this gerrymander would cost. One of these amendments would have required the Secretary of State to count the total amount of money and staff spent implementing the redistricting. Another would have urged lawmakers to study costs following 26th session. Another would have required public hearings in each congressional district. Another would have mandated that people or groups involved in drawing the maps be identified. We still don't know where they came from. Another proposed amendment to ban mid-census redistricting, which also deleted the bill's redistricting language, did receive support from 2 Republicans. Again, all of these were shot down, though, in short order. Friday, Turning Point USA, that's the late Charlie Kirk's organization, vowed to throw so much money at primarying Republicans who defect and vote against these maps in the Senate. Still, by Friday afternoon, these maps did pass the House on a 57-41 vote. 12 Republicans did join their Democratic colleagues in voting no. I've got the full list in the show notes. The state Senate will pick this thing up on Monday, where they will be met immediately with a bill from State Senator Fady Qaddoura that would prohibit the General Assembly from conducting redistricting efforts at any point other than the first regular session following the census. All right, a lot there, and I want to get everybody's thoughts on redistricting. And I don't know where we left off, but I do want to start with Cindy here because, I mean, this directly affects you. You're out there campaigning in a district that you don't know will even exist in a couple weeks. How do you do that?
Well, people in Indiana, whether they're going to be in the 6th district or not, will still be people in Indiana who need representation. So I keep going with what the map stands now, in hopes that we have enough state senators who, I don't know if you saw my video from Wednesday, that I hauled out my teaching spine and offered it to anybody who needs to borrow it to stand strong. I wish I had it with me here today. It's actually in my car. But, you know, we elect lawmakers to represent people. And right now, people need to know that even if you're running for office, that you are there to support them, listen to them, and represent them. Hoosiers do not support this. Doesn't matter what political party they are a part of, or if they're not a part of either political party, that are like, they're not Republican, not Democrat, and they're independent, or they're non-voters. None of them want this. They understand that they're not being represented fairly. It is the most blatant racism that I have seen put in print since vouchers and charter schools.
But Cindy, it's purely for political performance.
Performance. I love that word. You know, when that came out, I was like, yes, it is performance. It is a performance. You know, that Section 2 of the voting rights, they are doing backflips and all kinds of twists to try to get around, making sure that no one holds them accountable to that. I think, though, that we all know what it really is, whether they're going to admit it or not. Everyone knows that. Why, again, this is no different than what we're seeing in education. We're just seeing it everywhere now. And I think being afraid to call it what it is part of our issue. These are not fair maps, but people in Indiana, no matter where they live, deserve fair representation, and they deserve representation that is true to the form of what our system was set up with, as a person who is representing them, not a person who is ramming through their own personal beliefs.
Yeah, Derek, let me ask you this. So we talked about this recently. You know, we saw lots of threats and intimidation directed at Republican lawmakers by the right flank of their own party, by the extremists, by the wackos, by the nuts. And it hasn't stopped, since we've last visited this. Senator Mike Bohacek from the Michigan City area announced that his family was subject of a bomb threat after he announced that he would not support these maps. Senator Jean Lysing from Oldenburg said that her house was the target of a pipe bomb threat, and Senator Ron Alting of Lafayette said the bomb squad was called out to his former residence after receiving another bomb threat. To my knowledge, as this thing heads to the Senate this week, even with the threats and intimidation, they still don't have the votes. Are they going to cave? Is this going to work? Are these threats going to work?
So I have two responses to that. I have what I wish will happen and what could probably happen. What I wish would happen is they maintain their spine and do what their constituents want, and that is vote against this. What I believe will happen is they're going to be getting phone calls today, that's saying, if you do not vote to pass this, you will not be in office for much longer. You will be primaried by someone worse than you. And we will get this through no matter what, one way or another. It's a risk of political violence that is trying to shift this state into a more totalitarian direction.
It really is.
One-party rule.
And so, listen, at least one state senator says he's had enough. And Kyle Walker announced this week that he will not run for re-election. He's going to finish out his term, through 2026. His district in northeastern Indianapolis and the Fishers area in Hamilton County is close. He only won with 55% of the vote in 2022. So, maybe that's a pickup opportunity there. But Ross, I'm going to ask you, is this thing going to pass? And if it does, are they going to regret having done so? We talked about with the RFRA perhaps biting Republicans in the ass and being used to get results they would not approve. If they gerrymander these maps, if they break Indianapolis and send those voters out to other districts, do they risk losing more than they gain?
Yes, they do. So I don't think it's going to pass. And I think it is not going to pass because it is a bad map in the long run for Republicans. And I think they know it. The key is nobody wants to stand up and say, Trump is wrong. The Trump administration is wrong. This is a bad map it is a bad map for Republicans. Ultimately, look, if you have something that is as gerrymandered as it can be, and you try to gerrymander it more, you are going to, at a certain point, reverse engineer it. Right now, we have one guaranteed Democratic district in central Indiana. It is guaranteed to go Democratic. And we have three that are essentially almost guaranteed to go to Republicans. You ask any of those people, you ask Jefferson Shreve, would you rather have more Marion County voters in your district or less? Ask Cindy, would you rather have more Marion County voters in your district or less? The answer is more. So sure, in the short run, you might knock out Andre Carson. But you're basically trading 3 guaranteed districts for yourself, 1 guaranteed district for Democrats, and suddenly saying, well, now we've got 4 districts that are potentially in play. And one of the reasons that they're in play is because Marion County turnout is notoriously terrible. Why is it notoriously terrible? Well, because they don't have contested elections. When you have a gerrymandered congressional district that Andre Carson could win, standing on his head, he doesn't need to spend money. Marion County does not have a robust get out the vote operation. They don't need one, right? So primary people, and even in the primary system in Marion County, where you have slating and all of that, there's not a robust primary system there. So voter turnout is low. The other thing is just demographically, population-wise, Marion County dwarfs the rest of the state in population. 700,000 voters in Marion County. Johnson County, which is not exactly rural, 125,000 voters in Johnson County. Take yourself further out. You mentioned Wabash or Rushville, or pick one of those small counties. A single percentage point increase in Marion County can legitimately be equal to all of the voters in Brookville, right? So if you didn't have 50% turnout in Marion County, if you imagine people spending money, imagine people not knocking on doors, imagine increasing turnout to 75% in Marion County, it would wipe out most of the rest of the state. You see it, and also look, the donut counties are becoming more purple by the day because of demographic changes, because the changes in the electorate. You look at Atlanta. That they have more Democratic Congress people now, not because a bunch of former Republicans became Democrats. It's because the demographics changed in DeKalb County, in Cobb County, in those places that used to be white flight Republican. They are now just part of Metro Atlanta, and they all vote blue. And there's a heck of a lot more of them there than there are in Macon. And there's a heck of a lot more people in Indianapolis than there are in Rushville. No offense to Rushville, right? So look, I'm somebody who says they're not going to vote for it because it's bad for them, and they know it's bad for them. And some of these folks who aren't running again, or are in, and let's be honest, our state legislature is ultimately gerrymandered. So most of them are in very safe districts. And look, go ahead, primary Bray, see what happens. I mean, he's not worried about that. These people are not worried about those primaries, particularly in the donut counties. Those people are going to lose votes by voting for this thing, much more so than they're going to lose by going against Trump. So I think the primary threat is stupid. I think these folks are taking one for the team. I really do. I've said, bring it. Yep. Let's have competitive districts, because this does make competitive districts.
In a wave election, they really could screw themselves. I dare them. I dare them to go ahead and do these maps.